Good evening. Welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. The CBSE and ISC Class 12 results are out, and the toppers of the two boards scored 99.6 and 99.5% respectively. That's not all. Over 10,000 students have scored above 95% in CBSE Class 12. Toppers, teachers, career counsellors and other stakeholders join us on the show tonight as we ask, are high marks the only yardstick of success? Or is the system self-defeating with too many high scorers translating into sky-high college cutoffs? Have the examinations become more predictable with people routinely now scoring 100 out of 100 even in English and humanities subjects? Are we pushing students too much? How do we beat stress and look at a life beyond board examinations? All of those questions we hope to answer on this show tonight. But we're also joined by some super achievers. Joining us tonight, Bhumi Sawant De, the All India number 2 in CBSE Class 12. She scored 99.4%, a student of DAV Public School, joining us on the show tonight. Keetana Shrikant, All India ranked number 2 in the ISC examinations, and also Shivang Singh, who has come second in the Delhi and National Capital Region. They're both students of the Scottish High School in Gurugram. They're with us tonight. We're also being joined by Abha Sehgal, former principal of Sanskriti School, Usha Albuquerque, education consultant, and Ashok Ganguly, who's been CBSE chairman in the past. But let me go to the students first. Bhumi, you've ranked All India second in CBSE. You got 100 out of 100, we're told, in physics, chemistry and mathematics. Before we sort of go on to all the other larger questions, as it were, what tips and secrets would you like to share with students who are currently in class 12?
I think the self-study is the most important, and then focus and concentration is really very important. Does not matter how many hours you study, just study with concentration for whatever time you're studying. Do not get distracted by the things like social media, chatting and all. Just focus and concentrate on your studies.
All right, concentrate on your studies. Many congratulations to you as well. I should have begun by saying that. Keetana, you've ranked All India second in the ISC examinations. Would you agree broadly with what Bhumi has just said? How did you cope with stress? Did you have steady hours of study? What about your other classmates, perhaps who didn't score as highly as you? Was stress a big factor for them?
I agree completely with what she said. Of course, working hard with concentration is absolutely important. I'd also like to add that hard work as well as smart work is important. We need to study efficiently and smartly instead of just putting hours in. And I believe stress is sometimes a factor, but if you have good support like I did, like my school was very supportive, my teachers, my parents, everyone was very supportive, then the stress becomes manageable. So.
Shivang, did you go off social media? That seems to be a big talking point this time, that, that was something that clearly took people's attention away from studies. So we had a lot of parents and teachers talking about restricting time on social media. Is that something you did?
Hello, Ankita ma'am. Firstly, thank you very much for having us over to share our views. And answering your question, I'd like to say that for me personally, I believe social media is not a weapon of escaping from your studies, but in fact taking a break and utilizing your time effectively. For example, I do not use social media, for example Facebook, to go to profile pictures and like them, but instead I try and involve myself into debates on various news articles from various news agencies, and all of that is apart from the normal academics that we're doing here in school. So I believe using social media is pretty constructive because we're able to create a balance for ourselves between regular academics and what we can use, how we can use our time apart from that. So I believe social media was good for me.
All right, you thought social media was actually a positive contributor, but you've scored 100 out of 100 in 3 subjects, Shivang. Is there a certain degree of predictability involved in the examination papers? Would you say that you felt that you had sort of cracked the exam when you saw the examination paper?
I was enthralled when I saw the examination paper because thankfully I was pretty prepared. But I wouldn't say they're very predictable. I mean, they're not very easy. The ones who've studied, they can definitely perform well, but the ones who haven't, they'll have a hard time cracking them.
And Bhumi, is that something you would agree with as well? Bhumi Sawant, that question is to you. Would you agree with Shivang when he says that the question papers weren't necessarily predictable?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying, did you feel that there was a predictability involved in any of the question papers, or students now say that they have cracked the system, as it were, cracked the code? Did you feel that you had done that when you looked at the question papers?
The question papers were basically from NCERT only. There were few questions which were quite tricky, but a deep, thorough study from the NCERT helped me a lot.
Right.
So I was very confident at the exam time.
All right. Okay, I'm going to bring in our other guests also. Ashok Ganguly, former chairman of the CBSE, joining us on the program tonight. Mr. Ganguly, the results came out just 5 days after the board's attempts to stop moderation of marks in order to bring some sanity, as it were, to examination scores. That was shot down, of course, by the Delhi High Court. So these are, in fact, moderated marks. And we've seen this trend of people, the numbers of people scoring above 95% rising once again. They've risen from last year as well. And that's probably going to translate into impossibly high cutoffs for college admissions as well. Are we looking at a problem within the system itself? While we take nothing away from our achievers today who have scored 95% and above, what is it going to mean when in the CBSE alone there are 10,000 students who have got 95% and above?
Yeah, there are 4 important issues that has now emerged from this year's examinations, and we need to look into for our future roadmap. The first important issue, if you look into the 2017 results, there is not much difference from the last year 2016's examinations. If you see that there are more than 6% of the students getting 90 and 95% of marks. Huge number of students, more than 10,000, getting more than 95% of marks, which is not possible in a normal situation. That is important. So, but my request that whether we need to look into the very design and the blueprint of the question papers, as well as the marking schemes. But I will like that at least the 5 best answer scripts this year's examination in important subjects who has got 100 out of 100 must be put into the CBSE website, so that one can look in, others can look into it, why they have got 100 out of 100. That is one important issue. Second important issue, the unnecessary highlighting the toppers, the rank holders, because we have taken a very conscious decisions about a few years back that no merit list, no rankers will be highlighted, because this gives a lot of demotivation to other students who have missed just by whiskers. So I will request that when there is a standard error of measurement, because there is a human intervention, we need to ensure that unnecessary rankers or merit list be not published in either by the CBSE or by elsewhere. That is number 2 issue. Number 3 issue, the very marks in the English subject. Even the students who have got 96, 97% of marks say that we are not happy with the English marks because they have got 91, 92 and 93. Now this trend of the students not making much effort but asking for more marks, I think we need to look into this aspect. And the last is the very issue of the moderation. We need to take a very conscious decisions that there will be no moderation in the future examinations, provided there is no multiple set of question papers. If there is a multiple set of question papers, moderation be allowed. But otherwise, all boards in India must take a very conscious decision. I am giving another example. In 2016 examination, some of the state boards have declared the results where 15 to 20% of the students are getting more than 90 and 95% of marks.
All right,
serious issues.
lots of issues being raised there, and we'll hope to take some of those across to our other panelists. Abba Sehgal, would you agree with Ashok Ganguly of CBSE when he says perhaps we shouldn't reflect too much on those who ranked number 1 and number 2 necessarily? There are, there is very little standardization across boards, and that could be a possible issue. But as for marks moderation, since that has been such a debated point, the fact that these are moderated marks, and just to give you a statistic, between 2009 and 2014, when marks moderation took place, the numbers of those scoring 95% or more jumped by 780%. Would you say that these marks that we are seeing now point to a problem in the system itself, because then it kind of just leads to so much more pressure when college cutoffs become so astronomically high?
As far as the system is concerned, I think you have Mr. Ganguly on the panel, and he is completely familiar with the system and he knows the system. So I really cannot comment so much on the system because I've not been a part of the system as far as the setting of the question papers, the evaluation is the way the keys are moderated, etc. is concerned. However, I completely agreed with Mr. Ganguly's one point, which was spoken by a true academician, I must say, that we should not create too much of a hype on toppers and high ranks because it unnecessarily creates a huge amount of competition. And let me tell you, this competition is not only amongst the children, but it is also among schools. Now, the school principals are under so much stress just before the results are declared. In fact, during the preparation time also, the entire grade 12, there's a huge amount of stress on school principals because we are expected to have school toppers, the all India toppers. We have to have a huge percentage of children who've got above 90, above 95. So I think that's a very unhealthy trend, you know, and schools will differ in their philosophies, in their emphasis, but unfortunately schools are now all being judged by on the same benchmark, which is now academics and the kind of results that they get at the end of the year examination. Now this, I think, really is not very healthy.
Usha Albuquerque, as someone who talks to a lot of students about their future careers and as someone who counsels them, would you agree that there is far too much pressure both on schools and on individual students themselves, and this pressure can only be unhealthy beyond a point?
Yes, I tend to agree. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, Ankita. First I would like to congratulate the students who have done so well, but I am always surprised when the results come out because these marks keep getting higher and higher. I'm glad to hear that CBSE is thinking of rectifying the problems that are occurring because of the moderation, because I think with moderation you do not get a very accurate evaluation of students' capability. And it's rather unfortunate because there are some excellent students that cannot even hope to get 95% and therefore cannot even hope to get into the colleges of their choice. So I think we need to do something beyond looking at marks as the only criteria for college admissions. You know, because I don't think the marks can give you the accurate picture of what a student is capable of doing. So I think we need to move the emphasis away from marks. And while marks do matter, I think we need to move it into other factors that also matter when students are being selected for a place in the colleges or in the universities.
What would you say these other factors should be?
Elimination system. It should be a selection system.
Okay, but what other factors particularly would you like? What other factors apart from marks would you like to see being considered when it comes to selecting students for colleges or, for that matter, even afterwards?
Well, I think the entire student's personality, their capabilities, all their extracurricular activities, what they actually want to do, what are their courses are important to them, what are their future aspirations. You know, I think there should be interviews with students looking at a total picture rather than just at marks. And many colleges that have started the whole process of looking at marks along with interviewing a student managed to get a fairly good mix of students, not only toppers who may or may not be even interested in the courses that they choose to do.
Abba Sehgal, would you agree that marks don't necessarily always reflect competence in a particular subject either?
Definitely not. I agree with Usha that marks really do not reflect completely the kind of person that you are. There is much more to you than just marks. So as a principal, I'd always been telling my students that you should be proud of your abilities, your talent, which could be away from academics. So it is important, therefore, you know, the time has come when we start recognizing the other abilities in our children, not just marks. And a lot of children, she's right in saying that a lot of children who are very capable and who have a huge potential and will ultimately do very well in life are not high achievers as far as marks are concerned. They will not get the 90s, they will not get the 95s for various reasons. But they have a whole lot of other qualities. They are very strong in life skills. They are very strong in their people skills. But that needs to be recognized.
All right, that needs to be recognized, and you know, of course, we can talk in generalities, but Ashok Ganguly, as someone who's been part of the system for so long, has the system itself become self-defeating when you have such high scores translating into these sky-high college cutoffs? How do you address that being within the system? Are we looking perhaps at changing examination patterns, changing scoring patterns? What needs to be done here?
Yeah, we have reached to the place where we need not only the reformation, but a transformist mindset is required. First of all, I think we need to look into our very design and blueprint of the question papers and very marking schemes, how we are marking our answer scripts. Number two, because the steady decline of the higher education in India, Delhi University only remains the focusing point for our youngsters. I think it is a time that DU must reconsider, not to consider only a process of elimination for undergraduate admission. We can have a process of selections where we can use the multiple tools. Like one, they say 40% of the marks from the class 12th examination, 30% marks on the MCQ test, then 20% marks on the group discussions, and 10% marks on a simple essay written by the students. So we need to have a transformist mindset in order to change this mad rush for getting higher and higher amount of marks. And it is not only the national boards, but even the state boards are also joining in this rat race. We need to stop this menace. Otherwise, the very standard of the school education, including its assessment, will definitely put into jeopardize, will be definitely put into a very chaotic situation. It may be possible that we may not get the right marks in the examination. For this, we may not get the right college admissions and not even the right career options, but still the life can be made meaningful. We need to tell our students in our school, in our home environment about this very fact. Not every student can take birth with the left brain skill. There are hundreds and hundreds of students taking birth with the right brain skill. Right brain may not be scoring the good marks, but still their life can be made very meaningful. Unless and until we work on this scenario and only focus the only values of scoring and not learning, the situation is not going to improve. That's why I have said that a transformist mindset is required at the school level, at the home level, and also at the higher education level. And then I think the situation will improve.
I want the students to come in on this. Kirtana, Shivang, tell us what you think. Shivang, you go first. There seems to be this sort of aspiration to go to a handful of colleges which have always been seen as these elite institutions where once you have that stamp, you know, you can go on to bigger and brighter things. Is that something you see among all your classmates and compatriots as well? And does that in a way make this even more competitive?
Definitely. So if I could just build upon something Mr. Ganguly was saying earlier, I believe there are a lot of complexities that exist in all the boards currently. When you have the ISC, ISC that's separate, when you have the CBSE that's separate, and then you have other state boards that are separate. My personal belief is that in order to tackle these evils of, you know, higher marks that are just being distributed to all students, the first thing that needs to be done is there should be one uniform board for the Union of India. The entire country needs to have one single board and not so many state boards or a separate national board like ISC and then CBSE. So I would believe that's the first way we should tackle the issue that we're discussing. And apart from that, answering your question, I'd say that yes, there are quite a limited colleges that one student, a general student in say Delhi would like to go to, majority of which exist in the University of Delhi. So I believe it's high time that the government of India tries and focuses on developing more institutions in the country that can actually attract students.
Right.
Because today, whether it's Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, everybody is wanting to get into the University of Delhi. It shouldn't be so. Every state university should be, I mean all state universities should be at par, and I mean students should aspire to get into all of these institutions because each one should be better than the other. So that's what I feel. There's more demand, there's a lack of supply.
More demand, lack of supply. I can see Mr. Ganguly is agreeing with you entirely when you make these very cogent points indeed. Usha, I'm going to try again if you can hear me now. We've just been hearing from Shivang, who's been talking about how it is necessary for more standardization. Currently, there are way too many boards who clearly don't mark students in the same way, and therefore there are some boards where, you know, with moderation policies or perhaps more lenient marking, you could end up getting far higher marks. So therefore, that puts some people in other boards, regional boards, at a comparative disadvantage. And also, when it comes to higher institutions of learning, colleges in particular, why can there not be a wider range? Are these the things that we have to tackle as well?
I tend to agree with the person who suggested that, because definitely we need to have a standardization, because then selection can be more equitable across the boards, because especially for central universities like Delhi, where anybody from any part of the country can access any board that gives them a higher marking, they have a better chance of getting into colleges that are at Delhi University. So I think the standardization would certainly help across boards, but I also think that we need to look beyond the tried and tested universities and colleges that we've always looked at, and look at some of the new institutes that are coming up, some of the new courses that are coming up, and look at different ways of being able to improve on whatever selection is available to us.
Right.
We might not always get the institution of our choice, but it's best to look at what you want to do, select the best institute from which you can get into, where you can do that course, and then look at what you can do with those opportunities that the education provides you. So in this way, at least you access whatever is available and make the most out of those opportunities. We cannot all get into some of the top universities and institutes, but we certainly can make use of whatever is available in terms of educational capacity that is available to the students.
Well, words to live by, and I hope...
I also would like to tell the students that there are so many...
Yes.
Sorry, I would also like to add that there are so many other new courses and areas of work and fields of activity that they can look at. You know, there are too many students going only for certain well-known courses, whether it's the the professional ones like engineering or management, or it is economics or BCom. There are many other courses, and I think many students should start looking at those and looking at some of the institutions where these courses are offered, particularly even the private universities. I think they are doing an incredible job, and I think they should be encouraged.
All right. It's certainly time to look beyond the fixed and few choices of the past. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us on this program tonight. To the students, the toppers, thank you for being there, and thank you for all your hard work. This discussion was in no way meant to take away from your achievements tonight, but also to provide some hope and some consolation really for all those who may not have performed as well as you did, and raise some questions indeed about the system. Thank you for joining us on this discussion tonight. There's lots more coming up on NDTV 24/7.